Very kind of you. Thank you for joining us.
It's great to be here. Yeah.
Sorry, we just recording the webinar as well. That was the message you must have just heard. All right. A very warm welcome to you, Yashraj, and everyone present here. My name is Manisha, and I'd like to welcome all of you in this webinar from our entire team at ProEd. May I present Yashraj Sharma. He's our ex-student. He's currently in his second year in UCLA. He's studying mathematics and economics over there. So Yashraj, would you like to quickly introduce yourself, maybe talk about the campus or the course you're doing?
Yeah, definitely. Am I audible? Because I hear a bit of an echo.
Yes.
Maybe you're in the office, Aditi ma'am, and it's just echoing a lot on my end.
All right, just hold on a minute.
Yeah, that's much better. So hi everyone. I am Yashraj. I'm from New Delhi, India, and I'm a sophomore at UCLA. As Manisha ma'am told you, I study math and economics, and I am minoring in film, which is pretty interesting. If anyone wants to talk about that, I can take some questions. Yeah, I was from Shri Ram School, Aravali. In the 11th grade, I joined Aditi ma'am, which was a wonderful experience. I wouldn't be in UCLA without her, and she's really helped me out. So let me just give a bit of background about myself and talk a bit about the things we want to discuss. So I am deeply interested in finance and public policy, two things which sort of intersect. And that's what got me so interested in math as a major. I came in as economics, that's what I applied for. But UCLA offers this amazing double degree in math and econ. So I get to do both, which is pretty good. I in the past summer when I was back home in India, I interned with a consulting firm. So if anyone's interested in consulting, I can sort of help out there as well. I did that last quarter at UCLA. I also did an internship in private equity in LA itself. So if anyone wants any help in that or wants to talk about that, I'd be more than happy to help. But apart from that, I'm a DJ. So that's what like these headphones are from. I like to play chess and I love script writing, which is something I discovered about myself when I came to LA. So if anyone wants to talk about that, we can definitely chat.
All right, thank you so much for that, Yashraj. May I please ask everyone to jot down your questions and queries? And once I've finished asking a few questions of Yashraj, then you can go ahead and clear those doubts with him. Thank you. So Yashraj, could you share your experience so far for studying in UCLA and how it has been?
Definitely. So since it's a pretty open-ended question, I'll sort of answer things that I love about UCLA, things I hate about UCLA, because I feel that would, if someone here is applying or if someone here wants to come, it'll help them get a better sort of understanding. What I love about UCLA is the fact that it's in Los Angeles. It's the best city. It's in the good parts of Los Angeles, which means that if I want to take a jog, I I get to go to Bel Air and I can do all the fun stuff in LA. Another thing I really like about it is that it's a very big international community. And I know it's something that their website says, people like to advertise that, but it generally is really good because you have so many Indian internationals, you have so many Asians in general. So you don't really feel like you're not at home. You have like enough friends to ensure that, you're happy. It's the number one public university, so it has a lot of prestige, which I'm really happy about. And it's the number one for math, so I'm really happy in that. Manisha, ma'am, one small request. You could just mute yourself because there's a lot of echo that's happening. I can't hear.
Sure.
Great, thank you. What I hate about UCLA is the fact that it's a public school, which makes it a very, very big university. It has 10,000 kids in one undergraduate class, and which is really big because there are like 5 counselors who help you select classes and all for 10,000 kids, which is very, very small, very bad. You barely get to actually meet the professors. Most of your classes are run off from teaching assistants who are PhDs. So you don't really, like you would at a smaller private university, you don't have that one-to-one interaction with a lot of people. Getting a grasp on resources is also pretty hard here. I had to find an on-campus job, which in other universities, all my friends were getting very easily. But for me, I had to, it's a fairly competitive process, very little spots, and everyone wants one. So just generally, the size of it is not very appealing. And another thing is that Los Angeles is very good for certain industries, but not that great for others. For example, if you want to get into finance, like I do, it's not necessarily really the place you'd want to be. You'd rather be in New York or maybe even San Francisco. But if you are at UCLA, I think the best thing you can do is take as scientific a degree, take something in engineering, uh, take CS, that's the best here, take math, economics is very good, and it's STEM. So that's how my experience has been.
All right. Okay. How about besides academic, what other activities do you have on campus that some maybe that you are involved in?
Definitely. So activities. So okay, I'll divide that in academic, professional, and fun. Academically, I was fortunate enough to become a research assistant with a professor in my second year. It was good, got a little bit of money and good exposure. Professionally, I'm a part of a finance club, which is called a Send at UCLA. It's pretty good. It's mentors kids into getting jobs in consulting and finance. And I'm also in something called Bruin Sports Analytics, which is sort of like a data science and sports thing. And we get to consult the actual UCLA teams what we find. So that's pretty interesting. For fun, I am in the chess club. It's pretty good. As I told you, I'm a DJ, so I get to play at a lot of parties. I get to there's a big music industry which I'm a part of, and I'm part of the LA board club. So we go skiing and snowboarding quite often. So those are the activities. Some things that are very famous at UCLA. It's very hard to mention because there are so many. But if you're in business, there's a lot of consulting and finance clubs. If you're in engineering, there's a lot of software clubs. But generally, there's a lot of Indian clubs. There's a new Hindu club that one of my friends founded. Um, there's also a Indian dance and singing club and a cappella group. I'm not really part of these, but I know a lot of my friends are. There's apart from cultural clubs, there's like a lot of fun things to do. I can't remember them from the top of my head, but one thing I can tell you is that if you have any interest, is most likely going to be a club for it on in UCLA. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Yes, it does. Also, seeing that you said that there's a wide mix of students over there, right? A lot of international students. So how is the circle that you move around in? Is it like a mix or you mostly hang around with Indians?
Definitely, that's an amazing question, because I think that's what a lot of kids going into college sort of struggle with in their freshman year, finding a good friend group, finding people who you want to hang out with, and just people who push you to do things you want and don't hold you back. So, as an Indian from India, you're gonna meet a lot of different people. You're going to be exposed to a lot of Indians from America. So the people who are like green card, the parents went on green cards and they've lived in US their whole life. A lot of my cousins are like that. So I I knew a lot of those people. I had a good amount of exposure to them. I personally hang out with a mix. My roommate is from Los Angeles himself. A lot of my friends are from Delhi. There's a lot of Delhi students here. A lot of them are from all over. But one thing that is common is that amongst the non-Indian population, you'll find a lot of people just from at California. Uh, I honestly have one friend who's American but not from California because UCLA attracts those students. It's a public university. It's like how you'll see mostly Delhi kids in DU. So similar thing with UCLA. But I think that when you're in your freshman year, meeting as many people as you can is the best thing, because you don't know where someone will be able to help you, where someone will be, who you're going to interact with a lot. A lot of people who I didn't really spend a lot of time with this year are now my closest friends. And a lot of people who I may spend a lot of time with next year, I may not have even met them. So I think that's what I feel. Just meeting a lot of people, being friends with everyone, and just being as social as possible. That's the best thing anyone can do.
Okay. And how is the support system in UCLA for international students?
It's pretty good. There's like so many international students. So honestly, I've never really needed to do something for like my visa or anything that some other kid couldn't handle. Like I had like a lot of seniors and juniors who gave me advice. But I feel that there's right next to the dorms, in fact, there's something called the Dash U Center, which is has a lot of counselors who help you with your visa processing, who help you with your internships and all the paperwork. um, there's also a good amount of counseling that you get as an international. Since it's LA, let's say if you want an internship with like XYZ bank, that bank itself will have a great human resource team. So if you get your offer, they'll help you with your sponsorship, they'll guide you through it. Since LA is so international, I feel that even outside of UCLA, there's a good amount of support system for internationals.
Okay, but then for these support societies, if I may, you said there's a long queue to actually get actual help, right? Because of the size of the university.
So, I mean, yeah, definitely there's a long queue and you don't get to interact with many of them. But I feel that, so the Dash U Center at UCLA is just for international students. And UCLA through the years getting pretty hard for internationals to get into since it's a public university. They've wanted to take more California kids. So I feel that in the grand scheme of like the whole population, the Dash U Center, you'll never face a problem with. You won't find too long queues. Uh, it's just for internationals and it's a pretty big building. So you'll get a good amount of, you won't really have to wait in line over there.
All right. And what about medical facilities?
Medical facilities, like touchwood, I've never had to go to the hospital or had like a mental or a physical issue. But I mean, it's at UCLA, I can tell you that. So UCLA Health is the number one hospital in the whole of Los Angeles. Like that's where Michael Jackson passed away. That's where Beyonce had her babies. So I mean, like if you ever face a medical emergency, you'll be fine if you go to health. So one thing that's important to note is that you should be on the California health insurance plan. It's given by the UCs. It's called UC SHIP. It's actually cheaper than regular medical insurance. But if you have that, you're basically covered in case of any liability, anything. So there's a lot of hospitals like in any US college. So I think that's never been an issue for any of my friends.
All right. Yash. How about, would you know anything about scholarships? Did you apply for one when you applied for UCLA?
Yeah, so I'm not on a scholarship. I am like, I do have a scholarship, but I don't get money. So I'm assuming that you're asking about like financial aid and scholarship. So I didn't apply for those, but I can give you the information I have. And in case any of you really want to learn a bit more about it, I do have a couple of friends who I may be able to connect you with, who will be better able to answer your questions. So the problem is, again, University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA is for California residents. It's a public university. So all of their financial aid, all of their scholarships, and all of the money they give is only for the like California kids, because it's it's funded by California taxpayers. So I think if you're looking for financial aid and scholarship, UCLA is going to be very bad at giving that to internationals. If you're an amazing candidate at like the MBA school or in the engineering school for your postgraduate degree, then there are some international scholarships you can get. But again, those don't cover the full, they don't cover the full amount, and they're very, very competitive.
All right, thanks for that. And how about the placement assistance? Like, you know, how in India, after undergraduation or post-graduation, the colleges have this placement events where the companies come and visit you. Is it the same in UCLA?
Yeah, so I mean, I can talk a lot about this because I'm sort of going through placements myself right now. Uh, UCLA's career center is not very good. This is something I can this is something that everyone in UCLA agrees. And uh, their placements, as in usually UCLA alumni go on to get top jobs in everything. You'll find a lot of people in finance, in consulting, in tech. You'll have like a lot of people in like mang jobs. You'll have a lot of people in healthcare. All the medical students do amazing here, but that's not due to UCLA's resources. Uh, Usually, you're going to have to do it through a student organization. For example, one of my own, we reach out to companies to come network with us. We reach out to companies so that they can network with other UCLA students. A lot of other groups do that on campus, and you can go for their events that are usually open. Sometimes they're closed, but they're usually open. And that's how placements are done. uh, as for getting assistance from companies and what companies look out for, every company in California loves UCLA, and any University of California. In fact, Berkeley is a big one. UC San Diego is pretty good. If you're going to these, you should be confident that you will get a good job somewhere, especially in tech. But I feel that if you're really going to need a lot of assistance from like your career center, UCLA isn't the best place for that. Just as I mentioned, because it's so big, there's so many kids gunning for the same job, and there are limited amount of spots.
All right. Also, speaking of facilities, Yashraj, do you have enough like these facilities or areas where you can, let's say if you want to study and you go on till late, is there any areas like that where you can do that, maybe with computer facility or libraries?
Yeah, I mean, all the libraries are 24 hours, so you can study there late at night till whenever you want. All the dorms and the apartments usually have a very big lounge that they have for you to study, and you can stay there till night. Apart from that, yeah, there's a lot of space. Some buildings do shut, but I think that if I have ever wanted to study somewhere and I'm getting too late, I've never been kicked out or never had to worry a lot about that.
Okay, so judging from that, I would say you're staying on campus.
Yes, yes. I stay on campus. I'm in the dorm, so this is actually my dorm room. I would love to show it to you, but my roommate is sleeping, so I don't want to disturb him. Uh, I thought it was just cheaper for me to stay on campus. That's really why for the first 2 years I've stayed on campus. Luckily, some of my friends and I found an apartment off campus, which is way cheaper than the dorms also. So I'm moving into that next year.
And may I ask, how did you find out about the accommodation outside?
I mean, so like you'll if you're on campus, you'll see a lot of flyers, you'll see a lot of people posting on social media, and you'll see a lot of people talking through word of mouth. You'll usually, when you're going to meet your friends in apartments, you will see that okay, this is where they live, it's a good apartment, it's cheap, you can ask them for rent, and you can get a tour anytime really. Westwood is very expensive, so it's really one of the most expensive places in US, which is a terrible thing because it's it's like a lot of money to spend. But if you do find a really good, even if the room is smaller or the accommodation isn't as like isn't as huge as the houses we lived in India, it's fine because outside is where you're going to spend most of your time ideally, and you'll have a good time outside.
And what about living expenses? Is it expensive living there?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I would say it's relatively expensive. Uh, like, I mean, if you compare it to like UIUC, where a couple of my friends are, it's more expensive. But if you compare it to like NYU or Berkeley, San Francisco, then it's about the same level, or maybe even a little cheaper.
All right. Now, may I please ask, how was your application process? Is there any tips you'd like to give to our future students and parents?
Yeah, of course. So tips one, listen to Aditi ma'am. This is a very shameless plug, but I feel that yeah, I mean, whatever Aditi ma'am has said, even if I really sometimes there were times in which I was just like, no, Aditi ma'am is wrong. I know this, she is incorrect, but I was proven wrong by the result or by what I found out later. So I would say that just listening to Aditi ma'am is a great resource because one thing she really does, which other counselors that have experience with don't, is that she's very open. She's very candid with you, and she will lay it out for you. And she's gonna work very like intimately with you. She's gonna actually she I can tell you for a fact that she knew all of my extracurriculars inside out. If I wrote a paper which was published, she knew the name of the journal. She knew if I did research with someone who that person was. She knew who my letters of recommendation writers were. So just work as much as you want with her, as much as you can with her. Um, be honest and be realistic. That's one of my biggest pieces of advice. Aditi ma'am gave a pretty good strategy for me in which he said shoot for the top, like the highest university you can, and even if you don't get the highest, you'll get maybe one tier below that or somewhere right near the top, which is very good for you. And that's honestly where I am. Like, sure, Yale and Columbia were my dream schools, but honestly, looking back now, I am way happier here, which is something I never thought I'd be saying because I'm at UCLA. I'm studying with all my best friends. I'm studying with people. I'm having fun. I'm getting resources. I actually was fortunate enough to land an internship with Deloitte in LA just just because the person who I was talking to there was a UCLA graduate. So it's just been a great experience. For undergrad, the specifics that I would say is get a very good high school grade, like your board results and your 11th, 12th should be really high. And your SAT, ACT should be like very, very like the highest you can. Because when you get these high grades, then you can aim for any college. You can aim for Harvard, Yale, but you can also aim for something which isn't as competitive. And you can get scholarships there, which is a very, very great thing to do. Doing your degree for free is amazing. So that's what I would say, getting high grades. Apart from that, having a very good, and I think Aditi ma'am called it a spike. Having a very good spike in your application is a great thing. Figure out what you're really passionate about and do and center your application around that. So I was really interested in public policy and data science in high school. And that's why if you see most of my application, I created a student organization which was related to that. I was an MUN, which was like sort of linked to that. I wrote like 3 papers, which were all in that domain. I did some internships. So I feel that that really helped me get into UCLA. And if you want to get into any university, just have a very targeted approach to it. Focus all your extracurriculars in one domain and then apply for that.
All right. So there's this one question that we get very often from students and parents, and it is, should they do undergrad from outside or post-graduation from outside? So what could you suggest as an undergrad studying outside?
Yeah, sorry, just had to shut it off for a sec. This is a very personal and specific question. It depends on your circumstances, how much funds you have to do, how much funds you want to donate to it, and also what you look at your future to be like. I don't think I've told Aditi ma'am this. Aditi ma'am, are you actually here right now on the call?
I am, and thank you for all those lovely compliments. That was really nice of you, Yashad. You
Yeah, of
made
course.
my
I'm
day.
not.
Uh,
I'm genuinely not even trying to flatter you. I actually believe it, and I think Aditi ma'am only told me this, or some senior of mine told me this. Go 1 year in UCLA, and then you'll realize that a lot of the things you thought were right would actually be wrong, and what these counselors told you is actually going to be right. So that's what actually I feel. But yeah, to answer Manisha ma'am's question, what happened was I got you into UCLA, and then I was considering going to Ashoka University, which is a university I got into because it was going to be cheaper for me. But my uncle is he's a US citizen and all, and he told me that in the US, after graduating, especially if your degree is highly demanded and your GPA is high and you have a good resume, you can get a top job which pays you a lot of money, and you can recover all the money you spent very easily. So I feel that if throughout your college you don't really waste it in partying, and you like, of course, enjoy yourself, you should all enjoy yourself. But if you ensure that you're focusing on your grades and you're focusing on your activities and extracurriculars and your resume, you can get a very good job. And this is one opinion of mine that sort of is very debatable. But the more prestigious a university you go to, the easier it will be for you to get a top paying job. If listen, I'm at UCLA, which is a very it's amazing. But if I were at Harvard, I would get maybe more money or a higher salary, or to get a top job, it would be easier for me. So the higher the prestige of the university, the more these companies want you and the more they're willing to pay for you. So I feel that, yeah, undergrad in US can definitely have a great return on investment. Another thing that a lot of some of my cousins did, and they're very happy and very successful, is they did their undergrad from a top school in India. Like one of my cousins, she went to SRCC. She then worked in India, in Mumbai and all, for like 2 3 years. Then when she had a great application, she applied for an MBA and got into it like Harvard, and now she's doing like it's settled in the US. Visa is never an issue, and it's a great thing. But again, it really depends on personal circumstance. But I'm one thing I can definitely say is that if you really want to make money, and that's a big factor, like it sort of was for me, you can easily make a lot of money in the US if you work hard.
All right. Yashraj, another question that we get very often is about discrimination. Of course, parents are worried about their kids. So I wanted to ask you, how is the discrimination? Have you faced anything in your college, or if you noticed or witnessed anything?
Yeah, I mean, I know this is very weird for me to say, but I feel that like the Indian students at UCLA are like more racist than anyone else. Like I've never faced any discrimination. Touch wood for that. None of my friends have ever faced any discrimination. I am living with a white guy who is like a brother to me, and he will never discriminate me. I mean, of course, like there is also a good level of adaptability. Like you have to adapt a lot. You may see things in university and in the US which you may not have in India. You'll see people doing things that you think are taboos, but it's their life, and you should just stick true to your like values, I guess. And I don't think, I've never heard of anyone face any discrimination. So if you do, just know that the person who discriminated against you, and if they said something wrong to you, if you expose them, or if you like tell someone about it, you will get results. That person will face a lot of action and they'll be in bad trouble. So it's never nothing to worry about.
All right. Now, now that you studied in India and now you're studying in the US, how would you compare the education system?
So I've never had the opportunity to actually study college in India, but I mean, it's hard to compare high school education with college education. But one thing in India is that it's a lot of emphasis on rote learning. It's a lot of emphasis on like there's not much research that's done here. In India, it's just like you ratta everything. You just give your exam, you get your full grade, and you're happy. But I feel that in the US, there's a lot of emphasis on actual thinking, actually uh, writing papers, conducting your own research, and opining about things more than you would in India. You have to critically think and figure out that okay, this is what someone is saying, but why is this true? Why is it not true? What do I feel about this? Which is a pretty good thing that the US system does.
Okay. And do you find your course tedious? Like, do you get time for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, the course is pretty tedious. I mean, it is a difference for sure. Just a second. Yeah, it's a difficult course for sure. Math and economics is pretty hard, and UCLA makes it even harder because the thing is, in if you were at like USC, which is a private university, and if you were at like Columbia, Yale, or all of those, they give you a lot of leeway. They have a lot of grade inflation because they don't really because you got into those. You're in a private school. They can mold it accordingly. But at UCLA, if you're an international, it's you're equally competent than anyone in Yale, Harvard, and all of those. But uh, there's also a lot of kids they take from underserved communities, from Los Angeles, from a lot of these places. To sort of balance those odds, they have to make the curriculum really strict. So just know that if you're going into a university like U Michigan, UIUC, UCLA, Berkeley, UC San Diego, uh, any of the Stony Brook, all of those, it's going to be way harder, and your GPA might not be as high as your friend in NYU or Boston University, for that matter. I do get time for myself. That's never a problem, really. I can I can enjoy if I really want to explore. Like my dad was here for like 2 weeks during my quarter, and my mom was also here before that. So I was exploring LA with them. I was having a good time with them, but I also was studying.
All right. Okay, yeah, so just a couple of questions more. On a personal level, I mean, how's your food situation? Is it easy to get food of various kinds? Like, you know how a lot of Indians are vegetarians.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like okay. So I'll also have to mention that my answers are very biased to my experience in Los Angeles and at UCLA. So Los Angeles is a very diverse place, right? It's very liberal. It's very so many Indians here. So yeah, if you want Indian food, there's a lot of Indian food places. If you want vegetarian food, you'll get enough. If you want vegan food, uh, you can there's a lot of vegan places now. If if you're vegan, um, I don't eat fish. Like I'm allergic to fish, so I've never faced any problems. So in case you don't want to eat something, you'll never really be forced that okay, this is what you have to eat. That's never gonna happen. Also, UCLA has the number, and this is what I'm most proud about at UCLA. It has the best dining halls in the country. So they give you very healthy, but also very tasty food. And they have India, they give you like butter chicken, they give you like paneer and all. So if you really want to have Indian food, you'll never face a problem.
All right, Yashraj, just one last question. Can you tell us all what is the one thing that you miss the most about India?
One thing I miss the most about India, I mean, that's pretty hard to answer. Uh, I don't know. My parents, that's definitely my family. My sort of home, which was definitely bigger than, so I have like 2 beds and one like very narrow path. So that's a very small room I have. So definitely having my own personal room. But more than that, it's just there's a life in India that you can never get in the US, and there's a life in the US which you can't really get in India. So I feel that if you treat those as two different worlds, you'll be fine. Really.
All right. Thank you for answering my questions, Yashraj. Would anybody else like to ask any questions?
Yeah, just before that, I have like a lot of time. So in case anyone wants to talk about applications, anyone wants to talk about anything, you can take your time. I'm also, one thing that I feel we can do is I'm going to put my email address and my phone number down into the chat. So in case you want to follow up with any more questions or just generally want to have a chat about anything, I'm more than happy to do that. So my mail is this and my phone number is this. Just give me a sec. Yeah, I've sent them. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy to like sort of answer any questions, have a conversation with you guys and help you out however I can.
Thank you, Yashraj. That's really nice of you. And I think we have a question from Pooja, and she said that uh, uh, what should one focus on, like starting tips for profile building, or what to focus on when your child is in eighth?
In eighth, okay. Um, in eighth, I would, and again, what I'm telling you, like this is a disclaimer. What I'm telling you might be something Aditi ma'am doesn't agree with, or might be half information. So you should consult her. So because she has experience with me, she has experience with everyone. But I think that in eighth, you should look at 11th grade, because in 11th grade you have to select your stream. You have to see whether I'll take science, humanities, or commerce. You should sort of figure out, what are my interests, what are the sort of different things that I would like to do, and take courses like that. Because I know a lot of my friends in eighth, when they selected their grades, they didn't take math and science. And today, that is their biggest regret. Someone was telling me that, man, agar main fail bhi ho jata math mein, mere ko le lena chahiye tha. Which is something that is definitely something I agree with. Selecting a good amount of grades is great, and doing as many school-based activities is great. In MUN, like in 8th grade, MUN starts, you can do debates, you can take part in the music competitions, there's drama. Whatever your school has to offer, do that, because in that process, you'll find yourself and what you're passionate about. So when you come to the 11th grade, then you also don't have the additional burden of starting everything in school, doing the school activities and the external activities together. I was lucky that I did a lot of MUNs and debates. I had some leadership positions in school, so I had that base covered. And then when I joined Aditi ma'am in 11th, she was like, okay, this part is done, but let's focus on some internships, some research, some so organizations and all. So definitely get involved in school and select the best subjects.
There's another question from Rituraj. He's saying you referred to high SAT scores being helpful, but as much as I know, the CAL system now doesn't consider SAT. So that's correct, Rituraj, but in a very clever fashion in the UC application system, you can still put in your SAT scores, partially at least, your English scores. So it
Yeah,
still
that's
can
true.
be done.
I mean, there was like some law that actually when I was applying, I sent the article also to Aditi ma'am. I was like, ma'am, dekho, University of California mein nahi bhejna SAT, because mine was low. It wasn't as good. And she was like, no, Yashraj, even if it's low, you mention it in your application. Agar nahi hoga, kuch nahi hota. But agar nahi mention karoge, to bilkul nahi hoga. Tumhare ko consider nahi karenge. And I can't really tell you how admissions work, but maybe if I didn't mention my SAT score, they wouldn't have taken me. So just mention it. I think that even if they're not really considered, even if they're not a big part of the decision process, I feel that, just showing that you've taken it is a big deal, especially for an international you have to show that you have some good exposure to the American curriculum.
Yeah, there is a place, Rituraj, in the application where you can mention indirectly. Pooja is asking you, Yashraj, where did you do your SAT classes?
My SAT classes, so I did them with Tutela in Gurgaon. They're pretty good, and so they're very reasonable also. I thought that, and when me and my dad, we went into the center, it was very fancy, very flashy, very high rise type. And I was like, Dad, they're gonna ask for a lot of money. I might as well just do it with some other tutors. But we sat with them, and they told, like, the people, the his name is Ashish actually. He explained to us that, look, I know this center is very flashy and all, but in reality, we have a lot of people working here. We have a lot of kids who we've gotten great scores for, and their prices were very reasonable. So I'll put it in the chat. Um,
It's Tutela,
Tutela,
Jayashree. Yeah. Tutella.
maybe LLA. It's like something like this.
Yeah, yeah. So you did English and maths both from Tutela, right, Yashraj?
Yeah, I did. They do both only. Um, yeah, I did both from Tutela only. I also gave my SAT subject test in math level 2, which I got a full score on actually. But I didn't take tutoring for that. Yeah, it is in Supermart one actually. So that's the correct one. But yeah, I think one of the things that you can do if you have a sort of low SAT score, or just generally if you're aiming for a great university, is take subject texts and take APs, because I did APs, and they were all economics and math, right, and politics. So a lot of the classes I had, I could just skip them. So I was advanced in my degree, and I can graduate a little early. So that saves a lot of money. So it's your question from Rituraj is, Yash, would you mind saying your SAT score, which you mentioned and got into UCLA? I gave the ACT and I got a 32 out of a 36. That's like 32.
And Pooja, regarding your question, IGCSE would be better than CBSE if you want to go abroad and study.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel that all these boards which are international give you credit for your degree. So let's say I did ICSE math, but they don't recognize ICSE math. So you have to take all the intro level math courses again. So you waste a lot of time. But since I had the APs, that sort of made it up and didn't waste my time.
Which are the best courses in UCLA? If you would recommend, like an order of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So the best courses in terms of prestige and ranking, I'll tell you. The number one at UCLA, which is it's amazing, is biology. Anything related to biology. Um, UCLA has, I think, one of their years they had like everyone get into med school. So if you're doing biology, UCLA should be a top choice, and it's gotten hard to get into. That's one. The second one I would say is computer science. Doing a computer science degree at UCLA is really good because we feed a lot of employees into man companies. So let's say you want a job at Apple, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and all. Doing a CS degree from UCLA will get you far apart. So that's two. Third one I would say is mathematics. We have a lot of mathematics, and it's very good. I think like the person who has the highest IQ, it's very funny actually. I was sitting next to him while eating lunch like 3 days back, and I didn't even know. But he's a math professor, Terence Tao. I'm sure some of you may have heard of him. Math is the third one I'd say. Fourth one would be anything engineering. mechanical, industrial, electrical, all of them are very good. We have the Henry Samueli School of Engineering. It's hard to get into, but it's very good. And after that, statistics. Statistics is it's pretty good here too.
Thank you. There's another question from Ritu Raj. He's saying, does IB hold any edge in terms of preference by universities? Yes, IB is considered to be an academically rigorous curriculum, and you do definitely have an edge when you apply to any university in the world. If you do an IB curriculum, they know you are ready for university education. IB teaches you to think analytically, critically analyze things, do research, which are very useful skills when you join college. So this college doesn't have to struggle in teaching you stuff like this. So yes, you definitely do have an edge if you do IB in 11th, 12th. And also America gives you credits for some IB subjects. So your college course becomes, it reduces.
Yeah, I mean, I can also sort of take this from my exposure. I took ICSC or ISC for the 12th, and that wasn't because I knew that IB is better, and I would have, if I could have, I would have, but my parents didn't really see the value in spending so much money for like 11th and 12th. So they were like, you know what, just don't do it. Like, save some money so that we can sort of add it to the college fund, which is good. I was fortunate enough to get into UCLA, but if you can do IB, do it. For all the UK colleges, your admissions will be much easier. I know that I applied to Cambridge and I had like 5 rounds of interviews back to back. And in the end of the day, I still didn't get it. And I feel that somewhere down the line, it was because I was not in IB. So yeah, take IB.
Yeah, even I've seen a preference. Oxford, Cambridge, they both appreciate IB.
Yeah, ma'am, definitely. LSE, you can't even like, LSE, they won't even give you an interview if you're not IB.
So Pooja, to answer your question, if the child's aptitude is not IB, still should he take? No, this is something you should really think over carefully before allowing or taking up IB in 11th and 12th. If your child is ready and is capable, only then. Otherwise, IB can become a struggle for some students. So one has to be careful while making a choice.
Does anyone have any other questions that you want to ask me, Aditi ma'am? If you think I have not touched upon something, I can answer that. If
No,
you
Yashraj, you've answered our questions beautifully. And it's lovely to know. One question I wanted to know, Yashraj, is like, where is this university located? Is it like bang in the center of LA or suburbs? Like, how is it like if you want to, move about locally or go into town? How quick is the movement, commute?
Yeah, I will give a, I mean, explain it, but it's going to be hard to visualize. But okay, so Los Angeles is Shahar and then mountain and then another Shahar. The
Okay.
other Shahar ahead of the mountain is called the Valley. No one really goes there, and it's not really considered part of LA, but it is. Um, so the mountain is where you see the Hollywood logo. You see all those hills that you see in the movies. That there's a pool, there's the Pahadiyan,
Yeah,
really
yeah.
beautiful stuff. So that's the Pahadi, and all Bel Air is all those big mountain houses, and that's all the Pahadi. UCLA is literally it's closer to the ocean, but it's a little further from the ocean. It's right on the place where the Pahadi starts. So my dorm is you have to walk up a hill. So it's called the hill. You have to walk up
Okay.
the hill and the Thoda Sa. It's right ahead of Bel Air. So when you have to come to Bel Air, the first thing you have to cross is UCLA. But
Okay.
to get to the city, so I mean, there's a downtown which is not a very safe place to go. It's a little far from UCLA, but apart from that, for anything like West Hollywood, Beverly Hills, Bel Air, Santa Monica, all the main spots in LA, UCLA is about 10 minutes drive from each.
Oh, that's fantastic. So it's very closely, located to the city.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're considering going to, like, you got acceptances, look into the college town. So my college town is called Westwood, which is it's a very good place. Like it's very beautiful. It's very nice. It has good buildings. There's a lot of like one of my friends is in Berkeley. I'm going to visit her for my spring break. Her college town is very unsafe. It's not a nice place, and it's very dirty. It's a lot of homelessness. So if you want to sort of you should evaluate your college based on that as well.
Okay, that's a good input. Can we have a look at your room if your friend is awake? Yashraj, is it possible now or not?
Yeah, ma'am. So I don't think we'd be comfortable like sharing the room. One, it's pretty disgusting right now. My bed is not made, and two,
Oh, that's all right.
yeah, it's just.
So you have your own bathroom and kitchen, or is it just one room and you share bathrooms?
Yeah, my bathroom. So my bath. We don't have a kitchen.
Okay.
Our bathroom is a private bathroom.
Okay.
So we basically have like one room, and we have one bathroom, which is pretty small. I think Monica has a question. What internships did I do? Okay, so I'll break this down into college internships and school internships. In college, after I finished my first year, I came back to Delhi and did one with a consulting firm in Delhi in Gurgaon, where I worked on M&A transactions and human resources. I had a lot. I was actually pretty good, pretty lucky. They gave me a good amount of exposure to working with the client and working on the case. After that, I realized that now I want to do either investment banking or consulting. Those are the two things I want to recruit for, and those will also sponsor my visa. So then, when I came to UCLA, I did another internship during my college, which was with something called Arrowroot, which is an investment bank in LA. It's a pretty big one for LA, but it's a boutique compared to Citi and Credit Suisse and Goldman Sachs and all. Over there, I worked in private equity. I did a lot of valuation work, which is all finance stuff. In high school, actually, I did one with the Ministry of Health. It was through my school. I got it through my school. Then I did one with it was with something called Center for Civil Society, which I sort of networked my way into it. I mailed a lot of people and I called a lot of people, and then they liked me, fortunately, and they gave me an internship. It was in public policy in Delhi, and I wrote a paper with a couple of professors and a PhD from Harvard. So it was just I was in Delhi only. It was during COVID. So I did it over Zoom, and they were very helpful to write a paper. And I that I think was a pretty big part of my application.
I guess we're about to, our time is over. So, but thanks a lot, Yashraj. It was great connecting with you, and maybe I can call you after this and answer all your queries, whatever you have.
Yeah, I mean, ma'am, I am free right now. I would love to sort of reconnect and have a little bit of a conversation because I myself need some counseling. And yeah, I mean, in case anyone